Cheers.
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 As I bump my microphone everywhere.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, cats and dogs, welcome to episode 4, Louder Than the Fridge.
What an intro. How old are you?
I'm exactly 12 years old. But we got a special episode and an even more special guest. Today on the podcast, we have Mr. Doug Freake from a local band, Hard Labor.
And good friend.
Good friend,
And this is Justin Pino, who doesn't know how to intro himself. I'm Taylor LeBlanc, and most importantly is our guest.
Happy to be here, boys. Thanks for having me.
I already introduced him. Stop hijacking my...
I know. We agreed that you would do the intro, and I still hijacked it.
Yeah, you just were not satisfied with the quality. It's okay. I get it. Anyway, the theme of today's show, and the reason we had Doug on, is we want to talk about live performances, you know, what to do, what not to do, what it means to people in the audience. And the reason we had Doug on is you play in Hard Labor, and you guys put on a great show. So we figured you probably would have some, you know, valuable input for this.
There's definitely some do's and don'ts. That's for sure.
Exactly. And, you know, Hard Labor being a band that we've shared the stage with quite a few times.
Yes, with pleasure.
And, you know, carries a lot of the same things that we value, right? You put on a show. You're not there to just play music. You're there to put on a show.
Yeah, I mean, like, at the end of the day, you definitely want to carry with your music, and you want to be proud of what you put out.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like, let's put on a show. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it's all about. That's what gets the people going. Like, put on a show.
I mean, you look at, like, why people don't like the Arctic Monkeys live, right? They just stand there, play their music. Yes, it sounds like the Arctic Monkeys. They play it well. But they just stand there looking like emo kids.
Yeah.
There's no show there,
Exactly.
right?
And, I mean, like, some guys get away with it. Like, if you talk about, like, you're talking about people that really put, like, you can go watch James Taylor and he'll sit there in the middle of the stage with an acoustic and you will cry the entire time.
Or even Dylan.
Or Dylan, right? Like, you can do that. But at the end of the day, like, it's also a new age of music. It's a new age of, you know, getting yourself out there, especially if you're a young rock band and you're just trying to get any sort of attention you can get. And if it's about your show, like, you want people to leave me like, oh, that was a good show.
And especially now when people have the lowest attention spans ever, you need to catch them,
You need to grab them,
Absolutely.
And I think I heard it best when it's like the audience will meet you halfway, right?
Yeah.
So no matter how much, if it's Justin rolling around on the stage like an idiot, or Mike Bashel, your guy's guitarist, riding someone's shoulders around while doing a guitar solo, like, the audience will meet you halfway there. So if you're going balls to the wall crazy, they'll try and get there, you know?
You know what the best part about that, when that happened?
Oh, yeah.
Mike did not know that guy. Like, that was just some guy there.
I didn't even know that.
And he just hopped on his shoulders off the stage and Buddy ran him around.
Oh, man, that's great.
Sometimes things, and that's again another thing about live performances, that sometimes things just work.
Yeah, things
sometimes
just happen.
things
You
just
roll with
happen,
it,
and hopefully somebody's recorded it.
Yeah, I've always thought, and we can get into this further when we get into it, but like, for me, live performances, it's very hard to do too much. Like, at
100%.
At worst, people will say, "Oh, did you see that guy? He was weird." But at least they're talking about you. You know, it's better than, you know, the shitty performance.
Well, there was an example like that too when I was in high school. Like, we're talking way back, and there was this, not a battle of the bands, but like a talent show type thing at one of the high schools where a lot of people went out and there was a lot of bands and they were judging it. And they were judging, you can win prizes and you can do it. One of them, I remember the category was for most like memorable stage show or like most like presentation. And so you could definitely see some people who weren't used to doing that be like, oh, okay, now I got to perform, and like overdo it. You know what I mean? I'm definitely talking about them, but I was like, I remember sitting there and be like, what is this guy doing? And he would just flop like a fish all over the stage. And he was like losing his hat and his glasses flew off and he just like missed the wrong note and just like went out and just went crazy on it.
Went cold.
So I remember being like, holy crap, like, this guy's taking it to the level. Yeah. But to your point, I still remember him like 15 years later. I don't remember what they were called. I'm sure they don't exist, but there was something.
They got a shout out.
And like you were saying before, you have to have the music to back that up.
That's true.
You know, if you're just playing god-awful notes and singing like an idiot and flopping around on the stage, people will leave.
But there's a fine line of putting on a show and being something that people are staring at. Right? And then people are like, oh my god, this is a great show, and they get into it because the music's killer and the guys are putting on a show, this is great. Or you're sitting here in their chair going, what kind of documentary is this? Like, what am I seeing? Like, you know what I mean?
There's a fine line between a great show and a freak show.
Yeah, you know, that is the perfect way to say it.
On the nose.
And I feel like with my last name, I put them both.
There you go.
There you go.
It's going to be your new tag. If it's not in your Tinder bio, put it in there.
That's right.
Now, one thing I wanted to ask you guys. For me, I had a moment, and I remember it distinctly, when the importance of a great show really became apparent to me. I was wondering if you guys had something like that growing up where it was like, oh, okay, it clicked, you know?
I'm trying to think of like some specific examples. I think just doing it for a long time, and you start to learn some of the things that work and some of the things that don't, and you know, things that you kind of keep in your show week to week. And then, yeah, there's definitely been a moment, I think it was definitely at like when we played Buck Cherry, when we played the show, when we opened up for Buck Cherry. And I remember taking my bass and I walked in the middle of the stage, and I just like literally I took it, I just held it above my head, and I just like looked around, and then I just saw everybody just breathe it in. Yeah. And I was like, wow, that's cool. Like when you have a moment that you could sit there and you do something, and then, you know, they receive it so well. Yeah. And I might be able to speak for Mike on this point when he, like we talked about earlier, all of a sudden got on some random dude's shoulders and started running around, and everybody loved it. Right? It worked. So, and there's been another time where we ended up climbing on tables, because I remember Mike walked out and we had wireless at the time, and it was just a little small bar in Kingston. And Mike got up on this table, and I was still on the stage, and I was like, I'm going to go get up on a table. So he was on one table on one side of the bar, and I was on another table on the other side of the bar. And Donnie's just in the middle going, what is happening? And then the whole crowd was just all in between us. And like, some things just work. Yeah. You just see them in the moment, and then you go for it, and it works.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
I remember, well, that made me think of when we did the show for Rebel Radio. Yeah. What was the band that we played against?
5 Plus None.
5 Plus None. Yeah, and like great musicians, high schoolers, right? Mm-hmm. So we go, and it was us. They chose for us to go first, and it was by vote, right? So they just brought more people, kind of thing.
Yeah, well, we played in that show too a couple weeks later.
Yeah.
So we did that.
Yeah, and I remember it was, you know, the bar, right? Like it's just like a restaurant kind of thing that you're sitting down and playing on. But I remember Justin at one point comes and he kicks out a chair with his foot and like brings it towards him. He's down like right in front of the tables, gets on the chair with his foot up on the top of it, doing a guitar solo. I wasn't convinced that he wasn't going to start walking on the tables.
I was thinking about it, but I didn't know any of the people in the front row, and I was like, I don't want to walk on your burgers. But no, it was fun. Like, that was kind of funny. Like for me, and I'll bring it back to my original question. Like growing up, I was really nervous. Like I'm naturally kind of a shy person. So my first performances, I was kind of just like, you know, staring at my shoes, whatever, trying not to fuck up. And then it was 2016. I went to East Coast Guitar Fest in Halifax. And there was 2 bands that played. The first band, they were a like great jazz fusion like band. So they were awesome musicians, but they weren't really moving around. And I was there with my dad. And my dad, he loves music, but he's not a musician. Like he says he can play the stereo great. But yeah, so he was there, and he was not impressed at all. Like he was just like, okay, cool. Like
there's nothing drawing you. Like it was,
exactly. It was, you know, kind of flat.
It's something you have a cocktail to. You know, like if the band's not giving you anything, you're not going to give them anything back.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and then the second band was this like blues guy. His name's Carson Daly out in Halifax. Shout out Carson. I give these shout outs. No one listens to this.
I'm sure that guy's listening on bated breath, waiting for his name to be called.
But yeah,
he's made it.
The second he walks in, people are like, oh my God, Carson's here. Like you could just tell this guy's going to be fun. He gets up there, he's playing guitar, you know, behind his back, with his teeth, between his legs, slapping his dick on it, just like all sorts of wild shit. Like, but it was a blast. And, you know, again, seeing my dad, he was loving it from the second he started, you know? So that's when it's like, okay, the show is at least as important as the music. Like,
oh yeah, especially when you're at a place like that and you're playing in front of a bunch of people, which like you want to be playing in front of people you don't know because that's how you expand. But especially when you're playing in front of people you don't know, again, it's exactly that. They don't know you. Yeah. What do you got? Right? Make me remember you. I'm not going to see you next week at the bar. Yeah. Right? We're not going to hang out and watch Sunday football this week. How am I going to remember you? Right?
Yeah. And like I had a more specific kind of introduction to this, where my drum teacher Richard, I was probably in like grade 10 or 11. I was doing my first live show with my high school band, Clockwork Circus. I regret naming it that. Yes, I chose the name. But I told him I was going to play a live show. He's just like, okay, we're going to play like you're playing live. And I just started playing normally kind of thing. He goes, no, look at me. Watch me play. And he's playing, he's sticking his tongue out, doing, like, playing with one hand, holding up a rock sign and that kind of stuff. He goes, the audience will meet you halfway. You have to look like an absolute buffoon when you're up there.
Yeah.
And it, like, I remembered that, and I just stopped. Initially, I just stopped caring what I looked like.
Yeah.
So that meant my tongue hung out a lot more when I was playing and stuff. And yeah, pictures of me playing drums don't look great. But after that, I've slowly kind of ramped up. And as a drummer, there is a limiting factor to like how much you can look into it.
Yeah.
I remember the first show I played with Varitones.
Yeah.
You like were great with stage presence. So I thought I had to meet. So I tried to meet that. So I was rocking my head back and forth.
Yeah.
Like the whole night, and the next day I couldn't move my neck.
Yeah.
And that was the day I decided to start growing my hair. Had a regretful incident last summer when I cut it, and now I'm back to growing it.
Well, I hear you there, buddy. You're right there.
I'm getting there.
It's funny that you mentioned that kind of thing, though, because I remember the first time we played with you guys, and the first time we saw you guys, I thought exactly that about your drumming. I was like, shit, this guy's an animal. And I was like, this is wicked. Like, he's banging it. He doesn't even have, like, the felt pieces on his cymbals, because fuck it. Because he's just out there banging it. He just doesn't care. And I was like, that's awesome. Like, this guy's rock and roll. And then, of course, you get up there and start rolling around. And everything. I was like, these guys are rock and roll. We are playing with them again for sure.
Oh, yeah. No,
And we did.
And
we
sure
did.
enough, that started the long relationship of Hard Labor and the Varitones.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys have our only tour city ever. We've only ever gone to Kingston out of Ottawa.
Yeah, we brought you home with us. Yeah.
And then
Which was a wild night.
Yeah,
I
that was
enjoyed
a
that.
fun
It was
show.
so fun.
That was great. Yeah.
My biggest memory of that is I remember we all went for sound check, and then we all had a good time, and we got their levels right and whatever.
Yeah.
We're like, okay, what are we gonna do now for a show? And I was like, boys, I got you covered. Come to
Head
my
to the
place.
apartment,
I'll show you Kingston. So we went to my dad's apartment, and then I'll have a couple of drinks and get ready for the show there and whatever. And then load up into this panel van. And all six of us got in the back of this panel van, and we're just rolling around down Bath Road in Kingston trying to get to this show. I look back, I was like, thank God none of us got hurt in that. Like, on the way to the show.
Me and Justin said that afterwards. We're just like, yeah, we very well could have just killed the only two good bands in Ottawa.
But yeah, my chair was a 2-4. Like, all the way down to the show.
Yeah, that was a joke, by the way.
Yeah, there are other good bands in Ottawa.
Yeah.
That was a fun night, but we put on a hell of a show that night.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No,
And we even played. We got on stage together at that show too. That was when we played together.
Johnny Be Good. At the end.
Yeah.
That
And
was
we were all
fun.
on stage and played. That was fun. I enjoyed that.
Even beforehand, I really liked after soundcheck. A bunch of us just got on stage and were jamming.
Yeah.
Like, I've always said, like, I would love to do a show with, it would end up being you guys, because you're kind of the closest to us band-wise. Or like a band like you guys or something, where you play, you have two bands, you guys each do a set, and then everyone gets on stage, and you're like, okay, all of us are going to play these songs now.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah,
the-
like a few.
all of
maybe
us are the
Swedes or
third
something.
band.
Yeah, that'd be a good.
You know,
time.
that would be such a blast, just to even, like, cycle out some people and, like, just change it up and just jam with everyone.
I've always loved that kind of idea
Yeah.
because, like, again, especially me, like, I'm very sociable, some might say, and I love doing that with other musicians. Just getting out and playing. I'll show you something, you show me something. Let's try and jam it out. Like, I think that's the most fun, and especially when you talk about a music scene that's one like Ottawa's, especially, and it's so closely knit. Everybody knows each other. Everybody knows who's playing where on what night.
Yep.
Yeah.
Half of us have all played together at some point or another.
Yep.
We've definitely all played the same bars.
Oh yeah.
And I think that just adds an extra level to it.
Yeah.
We all know each other, like, on that next level to get out and play some songs and hang out before the shows and after the shows and whatnot.
Yeah.
Which is the one thing I do really, really like about the Ottawa scene, is because I feel like it's like that pretty much across the board here in this city.
Yeah, it's pretty tight. Like, there's, of course, some bands that, they're bigger, they play different venues and stuff, but most of them, you're playing Mavericks, you're playing Rainbow Bistro, Tick-Off and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, even like, you went, and I had to sadly miss the show, but you saw Philip Sace in the bar that is our favorite bar to play.
Yeah. Like, he
right?
played
Like Rainbow Bistro.
Yeah. And, he's had a record deal since, like, early 2000s. I don't know if you ever heard of him, monster guitar player. Like,
Yeah.
He is
Yeah.
super good. Yeah,
Just playing in the bistro.
Rainbow Bistro. Yeah.
We've had some good times in that Rainbow Bistro.
Yeah.
I think it's a great place to play. And it is because it's exactly that. It's a place where a lot of musicians get together and they all play there, and everybody in the city has played there.
Oh, yeah.
And it kind of makes it a little bit more renowned, which is the unfortunate part of, like, all this COVID crap that's going on. Is a lot of those bars that we are talking about and have all those memories in are now in a struggle to just stay afloat.
Well, I know during the beginning, Rainbow Bistro, I think, was like struggling, and a bunch of people donated to keep it afloat. And
well, a lot of them were local musicians. People that played there. People that wanted to play there again.
Huge part of the music community in the city. So keeping those places afloat is
and Mavericks got bought out, right?
Well, that's what I was going to mention too. And I was like, I remember when Mavericks closed down, I was like, oh man. Like, we had a lot of great times in Mavericks and the Cuff and playing that bar. Thankfully, it's back open again. It's just got new ownership, but it worked. You know, it was a great place to play. It's great for local music and big bands, too. A lot of big bands roll through Mavericks.
I mean, I almost saw, what was it, Cutting Crew and Wang Chung. I almost saw them play. And the old drummer of Varitones, Phil, didn't want to go to the show with me, and I didn't want to go alone, so I didn't go see them.
That's funny. I think I've only ever gone to one show alone because I wanted to go anyways. And I just said, screw it, I'm going to go. And that was the Beaches from Toronto. And I said, screw it, I'm going. Because I remember I had just moved Mike into his new apartment. He moved out of my apartment and moved into this new apartment. And I was like, hey, let's go to the show tonight. We all moved. We all had pizza and beer, whatever. And I was like, great, let's go to the show. Let's cap it off. And everybody's like, oh, I'm a little tired from moving all day, and I gotta get the stuff ready. I was like, fuck you guys, I'm going to the show.
It sounds like they weren't drunk enough.
No, that's never really an issue for me. So I was ready to go. So I went, and it was great. The Beaches are unreal. If you haven't seen them live, I highly recommend it.
I think I've seen live videos. I've never.
They're great. I've seen them twice now. I dragged my brother to it in February again.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So I guess we should move into picking your brain. What's the Hard Labor live show secrets?
Hard Labor live show secrets.
Get out your notepad.
You know what's funny though? I think that I wouldn't say our live show has completely evolved over time, like the way we've been with the band. I would say the way we approach shows as individuals has changed a lot.
Okay.
In the sense of when we first started out, it was about getting up there and playing and having a great time, which it still is, don't get me wrong. But, the more success we've started to realize, the more we've had to kind of change certain things that we do in order to professionalize it up, I guess would be the term. And to I remember one time we were talking to somebody who's very high up in a certain position that I won't name, who came to see us play one night and said, and this was before we really got, we had a moment, was like a reality check for us. Be like, hey, look, this guy had said, you guys are great for a bar band, if that's what you want to be. You guys, you go up there, you have party, you guys drink on stage and whatever. I think there was one part in this particular show where I remember we were doing the breakdown in Ooh Yeah, which is just the bass and the drums there.
Ooh Yeah.
And all I got to do is hit that E, right? So I have this hand free for a adult beverage. And
Jack Daniels.
This was at the Rainbow.
Okay.
Where they sell the quarts.
So
I remember we got to the breakdown and I went over and I grabbed my quart and I just started chugging right in the middle of the stage. And I remember, it was a lot of that. It was a great show. We had a great time. But I remember that specific individual being like, you guys are really good. You had the crowd involved. Everything's great. Your antics are fine. But if you want to be a bar band, if you want to just sit and get drunk in the bars and have a good time, you guys are right there. But if you guys want to be more than that, got to clean it up a bit. You got to, you can't be doing that kind of stuff if you want to play on the big stages. So we took that to heart for sure. And we're like, okay, let's tone her in. This doesn't mean we can't have fun. This doesn't mean we can't love what we're doing. But there's certain things that, we did in prep for our shows before that we don't necessarily, or we change around in prep for our shows this time. We still do what we need to do to get ready and play the show that we want to do, and it takes a lot of prep for us to get ready and do the show that we do because we put so much into it. Because as we've stated before, our live show is something that we take some serious pride in because we think our music's pretty good, but if we want to rock and roll, we're gonna you're gonna like our music and you're gonna like us more when you see it. You know what I mean? So there's definitely been a few things that we've changed around a bit in order to clean up those kind of
I think
moments.
As rock music fans, it's really easy to fall into the thing of you look to your heroes, right? Me, huge Led Zeppelin fan, they would drink on stage. They would do drugs. I'm a big Van Halen fan.
Dude, fucking Bonham drank himself to death. Ginger Baker, I don't know how he didn't die from heroin usage.
Still
like the only clean drummer I like is Chad Smith.
Yeah. Yeah, like there's a lot of those stories where it's like, okay, sex, drugs, rock and roll, right? Whereas we're not Zeppelin, we're not Van Halen, and especially nowadays, like it's a business, and you like bands to make it, you need to take the business side of it.
And that's basically what this guy said. He goes, well, who the fuck do you think you are?
Yeah.
Zeppelin? Who do you think you are? The Rolling Stones? Like, great. Enjoy your 50 people at the Rainbow for the rest of your life. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, if you want to play on these bigger stages, like, clean it up. You can get there if you want to be that. Yeah. Motley Crue wasn't doing it from day one. Well, maybe they were. But, like, they, it wasn't...
a different time.
Yeah, and that's it. Yeah. Like, especially when you're in a rock band, a lot of your heroes are from the 80s and the 70s and the 60s. Yeah. We're not in the 60s anymore. You know what I mean? Like, this isn't... It's very, very different.
You gotta shower, kids.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't be like Jim Morrison, get on stage after taking a full handful of random drugs and put on a good performance, right? Like,
could you imagine, to the point of Jim Morrison, could you imagine if you went down to the Bronson Center tonight and you walked in there and you had no idea who was playing? You just knew like there was a good band, people are, you went with your buddies or whatever, and you paid to get in there and you see somebody acting like Jim Morrison on the stage, and you don't know who he is. He's just some random guy, but he's doing those kind of things. You're like, who is this clown?
Yeah.
Like, where did they find this guy? And that's the thing, right? You can do that when you're Jim Morrison, but none of us are Jim Morrison. You know what I mean? Like, clean it up and try and get there, and then live your life after that.
And I think that's a good segue to me. Like, one of the big parts of like the don'ts of stage presence, and it's not directly related to stage presence, but don't be an asshole.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter if you're the best musician in the world and you put on the best show. If you act like an asshole to people before or after the show, it's going to ruin it.
100%. I couldn't agree more.
And also, like, everyone starts out, right? Like, we start out. We go, you talk to a couple local bands. If you're an asshole, those bands won't want you to keep playing with them.
Yeah.
Like, if we were dicks to you guys wouldn't have invited us to other shows, and vice versa.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So, like, how are you gonna play anywhere if all the bands playing there hate your guts? Let alone the venues.
Exactly. And I think that's a very important point. Because it speaks volumes, especially for people that are starting out. If you're a new band and you're starting out and you want to get shows and you want to start playing with people, especially people that are a little bit above you, to get you into those situations, you got to make those people like you. It's still a business at the end of the day. A band is still by far a business. If you want to take it that way. If you want to have fun doing your own thing and playing in the bars and do your own thing, but like, you're only going to get yourself as far as you take yourself at the end of the day.
Even just playing bars, though, you have to... Okay, let's talk about biting our tongue. Because I think that's kind of important. We've all played with bad bands. We've played with bad bands together. How you talk to those bands afterwards is super important. Because I'm sure we've all had that moment of, I didn't enjoy that. I wish I could be like, you guys are shit, or not even that, we're not dicks. Be like, hey, this is something you should work on. A lot of people don't want to hear that. I've learned firsthand talking to a drummer after the show, like, hey man, loosen up, like hit the drums a little harder kind of thing. And he just fucking hated me. From that moment, I was like, oh shit, I shouldn't have done that.
We've had those experiences too. And we've had people come up to us and say things like that. And I think that's the big difference, because people come up to us, we might think that they're idiots and disagree with everything they say and what they morally stand for, but we're still at the end of the day, oh, like, okay, thanks, like, I'll work on it. And then we'll go home and be like, that's fucking asshole, like, you know what I mean? But you're allowed to say those things, but don't say them in public, or don't say them to them. Like, be professional and get back home, and then when you're with the boys back at home, or you're in the green room or whatever, be like, who was that?
What the hell was that?
Or, like, if you're able to, like, especially if, like, situations like us, like when Hard Labor and the Varitones have played together, we've had, it'd be us, them, or us two bands, and then the third that we don't necessarily agree with. But at least we have that working relationship where even we know enough to, like, give each other a lesson. Okay. And then we get home and, like, okay, what was that? Let's not do that.
You get home, who the fuck are these baritone assholes?
If I said that, I would not be here right now.
No, to me, like, when there's a band that I'm playing with that maybe they were not my favorite, I always try to make a point of, like, pick out at least one thing that, like, I sincerely enjoyed. Like, even the worst band, like, oh yeah, you guys were entertaining or something like that. Like, I've seen a bunch of bands that, like, after the show, they'll be like kind of fake buddy, like, oh my God, man, that was the best shit ever. I'm not about that. I'll be like, oh, great backing vocals. Or, that was a cool guitar solo.
Or even you guys put on a good show.
Yeah.
Because, we play with bad bands that do some fun stuff during their live show. So, you guys put on a fun show, right? Like, you're not going to be heading down to California with a recording contract anytime soon. But, hey, you guys put on a fun show. And I think subcategory 1 of Don't Be an Asshole should be Don't Be an Asshole to the sound guy.
Oh, God, yes.
Yeah.
That's huge. Because the sound guy at the end of the day will make or break your show. He's got control when you're up on the stage.
He can ruin your shit really quick.
Yeah. And that being said, though, I think I'm going to speak freely here.
Yeah.
I think that goes both ways. Hey, sound guy, don't be an asshole either.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, we're working together here. If I come into a show and I say, hey, because sometimes you get lucky and you have the same sound guy with what you do. And like we've had sound guys follow us around for certain gigs because they know what we are and we trust them and we want them to do our stuff. But every now and again, we'll play a show where we have the house sound guy. And I'll go up to him and be like, hey, like, we're a 3-piece, like, I need my bass fat, like, I need to be sound, I need to be loud to make it out, a little bit of reverb like this, I want reverb on my vocals, this is how I want it, this is how I've been doing this for 5 fucking years.
Yeah.
All right? And then he'd be like, I don't think you need that. Excuse me?
And then you guys will get up and play and you sound empty.
Yeah.
We got that a lot with Max.
Yeah.
Sound guys would be like, oh, it's a keys player down here. And then it's like, oh, we couldn't hear Max.
Yeah, but he's a third of the fucking band.
Exactly.
But especially like he was playing bass, keys, and organ with
Side note,
another hand.
Shout out to Max. He's such a talented guy.
Honestly,
I love
great.
that guy. He's here right now. I love that guy. He's a
We miss
great
him
guy.
dearly.
Miss the hell out of you, buddy.
Yeah. Way better than a bassist, right, Doug?
Yeah, basically. Why do you think I play it? I just play one note at a time, man. He's up there keyboarding and bass, and he made me look like a tool.
It's okay. I tried to play bass for 30 minutes the other day, and my hands started bleeding, so I respect it.
Yeah, well, I've been doing it for, I don't know, 15 years now. The reason I started playing bass was because my dad was a guitar player. My dad played in bands when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah.
And for whatever reason, I just could not pick up the guitar.
Oh, yeah.
I tried to learn chords. I couldn't get it for the life of me.
Yeah.
No idea why. But we had this old shitty beat up bass that we had. So I was like, okay, well, like, I'll just do that. And like Dad would play with his band or whatever, and I'd bring him around and be like, hey, Doug, hit this G note. Just put your finger there and just strum this for like the song. Yeah. And I was like, perfect, I'll do that. Yeah. Cheers. And so then I did that. And then that's how if I wanted to play with Dad, I could play the bass and hop in on some of these songs. And then I got better at the bass and I learned G, C, and D. And I was like, okay, these are easy. One note at a time. Perfect. 1, 2, 3, 4, switch. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here we go. And then I ended up, and then I evolved, which was a blessing in disguise. I mean, it got me to where I am now. But besides that, when you're in high school, how many guitar players do you guys know in high school?
Million.
Right? How many bassists did you know in high school?
Like 1 or 2.
I never had a weekend where I didn't have somebody ask me to come jam.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, everybody needed a bass player.
I mean, I got beat bitch so many times in high school for being the only drummer who can actually play a basic rock beat in my high school. I played with country guys. I played with a blues guy. I played with a pop guy.
I was there too. Yeah.
You know, and then went off and had my own project where I did what I wanted, right?
Which is funny that I say that, because the first, like, real big band that I was in high school, like, that we played, we were pretty decent for high school. Well, I was just a singer. I didn't play bass.
Yeah.
That being said, the guys I played with were like Rush. Oh. Like, they were like the bass player that we had. These guys warmed up with YYZ. Like, you know what I mean? I was like, I'm totally happy just sitting over here.
Chumps,
I was like, I'll just sit over here. You guys do your thing. I'll come back.
The one story I did want to talk about with the sound guy, and I know as a guitarist, Justin, you have a love-hate relationship with sound guys.
Mike will attest to that too.
Oh, yeah.
But was one band that we played on the bill with that the bassist had their bass right up in the mids, and their guitarist had the guitar right down in the bass.
Super scooped.
So they met right in the middle. We'll tell you who later. Right in the middle, and it just sounded like mud. Yeah. They were doing sound check, and the sound guy was just like, hey, I think you guys need to change how you're leveled and that kind of stuff, because it doesn't sound great coming at this end. And the front man for their band, I guess kind of the front man, was just like, no, you don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
And started attacking the sound guy.
Which ties back to our first point, don't be a dick.
Exactly.
Don't be a dick, yeah. Like, the etiquette for that is if the sound guy tells you some advice that you really disagree with, you just pretend to do it. You know, I get told, hey, turn down all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's down.
Because like after they sound check too, these guys were open chirping the sound guy in the bar. And it's like, dude, this guy's the guy who's going to make you sound like shit or sound great. You can't do that.
You can't. You really can't.
And, you know, also as us, like, witnessing that interaction, like, it was pretty cringy. So, like, they would have had to put on, like, a fantastic show to already get out of that, like, preconception that we have of them.
Which goes back to point number 2, be friendly with the other bands.
Yes.
You know, like these all tie in together, man. It all ties into the same, you know, concept of if you want to be good, these are the things you got to do.
Yeah.
And they all tie. Don't be a dick. Listen to the sound guy. Pay attention to the other bands.
Yeah.
Like they all coincide with each other if you want to do anything, especially in this city.
Yeah.
Yes. Like especially in this city.
Like you said, it's such a tight-knit group.
Yeah.
And, you know, even if you don't like the music of bands that you're playing with, like, we feel bad sometimes because maybe we don't like the sound of a band or something. Great dudes.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, we wish we could say no to the shows sometimes, but they're such good dudes.
Yeah.
Like, you can't even chirp on
I think Hard Labor and the Varitones have a lot of similarities in that sense because Ottawa is a very heavy metal, darker scene.
It's a metal scene.
Yeah. And then you come out as a rock and roll band like us, and you get put on these bills with all these skull crunch bands and like, you know, finger death, and you're like, oh, like, fuck, like, and then Hard Labor or like the Varitones, and we're like, we just like the blues, like, you know, so, you know, we're just
Who
coming
wants
up.
to hear some 12 bar, baby?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think to that point, a lot of great dudes played in those bands, had a lot of fun, but we're just like, how do we fit on these bills? Like, where are we at with this? And I mean, half of it's just suffering through because at the end of the day, you gotta have somewhere to play, right?
Oh, for sure.
But it's exactly that. It's the difference between, you know, being in one of those bands that I wouldn't normally play with, but you're great dudes, so like I'll fill the bill.
Yeah.
Or I don't like your band and you're an asshole, so I'll find somewhere else to play.
Yeah, sorry, not interested type of thing.
And on top of that, like that goes right back into what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
3 guys in 2 different bands talking about other bands, being like, that guy was a dick, don't like playing with that guy, these guys are great, let's do a show. It all comes back, like all because it's such a tight-knit circle in the Ottawa music scene that everybody talks. You know what I mean? If, like, for example, if I went out and I played the Rainbow tomorrow night and I played with this other band that you guys happen to know, and I was just, you know, David Lee Roth deviant it right up, right? Like, I'm the guy, frontman syndrome, like, I don't like these levels, like, get out of my way, peasants.
Why the fuck are there brown M&Ms?
This is garbage, I quit. Those guys would be like, hey, did you hear about that Doug Freake asshole in Hard Labor? Like, let's never do that again.
Can you believe
right?
it?
So it all comes down to that. People like talk, especially in the city.
It'd be the talk of the town.
It would be, though. That's the thing. Like, we say that as a joke, but it would be in the music scene.
With the music scene, it is such a tight-knit community. And not that we bite our tongues at every moment and don't speak our truths, but sometimes you just, like, need to be polite.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. You need to be polite, and what gets to, I think, the next talking point is be easy to work with. Which is
100%.
different. It is different.
Yeah.
Right? Like, when it comes down to it, I know we've played shows with bands that weren't easy to work with.
No.
And usually they think they're tough shit and aren't. That's, I don't know why that goes hand in hand, but it sometimes does. We try to be that's like our number one thing that we look at. Like, we might say no to this show, but we want to make sure that next time they'll ask us again. You know, just be the easiest to work with when you're going with the show. Help the other bands, bring up shit. That's how you start talking to them. That's how you do that shit. And, you know, like, I mean, we do it with you guys constantly. It's because we're buddies with you guys.
Well, and that's exactly it. Yeah, it's different between being friends with the guys and, like, wanting to hang. Because at the end of the day, when we're helping each other with the shows, we're also hanging out. You know what I mean? We're also talking, shooting shit, having a beer, whatever. But
Justin's trying to steal your dad from you.
My dad loves you, by the way. That's true. That's true. That's a true story.
He's going to start cheering up.
He still has a Varitones pick.
Let's go. Can you tell this story of finding the Varitones pick?
That Facebook video was like the highlight of the summer.
Oh yeah. So as some people know, I'm not from Ottawa originally. I live here now, but I'm from Kingston. And every now and again, I get the chance to go back home, and I've already mentioned about like my dad and us playing music and stuff all the time. So over the summer, I went home to Kingston and was jamming out with my dad. I can learn how to play guitar now too, so I was able to do. I was able to do that. Then I was showing him some of the new Hard Labor stuff, and he was, tearing it all apart. And so we that's love. Yeah. I gotta go somewhere for it, right? Yeah. Anyway, so he's like, let me show you a thing, and he was playing around, whatever. I was like, okay, let me show you what I was working on. So he hands me the guitar, and then I was like, I need the pick. He hands me the pick, and I go and I strum it, and I'm like, wait a minute. Who the fuck? And I look down, and Justin's face is staring at me on the fucking pick. I was like, where did you get this? Oh, it was hilarious. And I was like, oh my God, like I have to call him. And then I was like, you're never going to believe what I just found. Oh, sorry, I'm wrong. I was at my buddy's house when that happened. My dad was there, and it was my dad's guitar. But I was at my buddy's house, and like there was a bunch of group people there because my buddy's dad had wanted to learn how to play guitar. So sorry, forget everything I just said because it's wrong. I was at my buddy's place, and my dad was there. That's why I thought about it. And my buddy's dad pulled out the guitar because he had ended up talking to my dad about guitars and stuff too. My dad gave him, I guess my dad gave him some picks, and that pick was one of them. So I grabbed the guitar from my buddy's dad, went to play it, looked down at the pick, and I was like, that's a Varitones pick. Where did you get this?
I guess we had left some. You left some of them at the venue in Kingston.
Yeah. So like last year for my birthday, Max and Taylor got me like a bag of picks with my name on them, and then, like the Varitones.
My band doesn't like me that much.
But like whenever I do shows since then, I just like. I'm very generous with them. I'm chucking them everywhere, doing that promo.
But like, look at that. That was another group of people who you had no idea who they were
random
that had your stuff.
Has my name on a pick. Yeah,
exactly. Because maybe they didn't know you, or maybe they weren't even at that show. Yeah. And all of a sudden they pick up this pick, and they see it. Varitones, Justin. Who the fuck? Why don't I look them up? Yeah. They see who it is, and then all of a sudden there's another listener, right? Yeah. There's somebody else that's coming to look at your stuff. Yeah. So that's how that works.
Hey, we're just about at 3,000 on our third.
Oh yeah.
So we're above 1,500 on Gone with the Wind and Wild Honey, and then we're almost at 1,000 with Dynamite.
Okay, right on.
There we go.
I'm a big Wild Honey fan. I will rock that in my car to this day.
Thank you.
I guess we're one hit wonders because that's everyone's favorite song.
That's the one. It's a great tune.
Wow, I love it. Thank you. I'm glad people enjoy it. At least one of them.
We finally just hit 1,000 on What She's Feeling.
Okay.
Hey, congrats, my dude.
I was listening to your guys' EP this week actually. I was just like I'd listened to a bunch of Van Halen, and I've gotten close to being Van Halen'd out. I'm probably gonna listen to like Van Halen for another like forever rest of my life probably. But I was like, what band sounds like Van Halen kind of? Hard Labor.
Yeah. Oh, we get that a lot. That's for sure.
I mean, Mike guaranteed his favorite guitarist is Eddie Van Halen.
100%. Yeah. Which is funny because he'll tell you Eddie. Yeah. But in the same breath, he'll also tell you Angus Young of AC/DC. Yeah. Yeah. And that's who. And I've known Mike for 16 years. Yeah. And we used to play hockey together in Kingston when we were growing up, and we became friends there, and we both shared the passion for music, obviously. Yeah. So I'd go over to his house. We were like 10 years old, and play music there too. And he's the biggest AC/DC fan I've ever seen. Loves AC/DC. So and that's how he learned how to play guitar at that point too. Was like the four chords and the truth there with AC/DC. Oh yeah. Like so that's, and then obviously as he got better and learned how to play guitar more and figured more stuff out, then that's when he got more technical into the Eddie stuff. But I think if you had a good mixture between Angus Young and Eddie Van Halen's technical / his playing style, whatever, but Angus Young's bass of just like rocking riffs and playing.
Great songwriting, great riffs. The amount of people who like are not really rock and roll fans who can sing an AC/DC solo is mind-boggling.
Well, we were talking. I mean, I was just texting with Justin because I was on a call at the time. But we were trying to figure out the most influential, or the most recognizable intros of all time. And I hadn't even thought of AC/DC. And Justin sends me like one AC/DC song, two AC/DC songs. He sends a list of them. He goes, any of these could be interchangeable with the top most recognizable intros of all time.
That's true.
And he was right. Mm-hmm. Like fucking Thunderstruck, Back in Black,
Highway to Hell, TNT.
Who was on your list? Out of curiosity now.
Mine were Billie Jean. I have that selfishly up there because it's the only drum beat that everyone can recognize.
And it's such a, like, no offense, but a basic drum beat that's just like classic.
Well, this gets
everybody knows
this gets down to the root of drumming.
100%.
A good drummer and a bad drummer can play a rock beat. It'll sound different.
100%.
Right? Like,
Oh yeah.
And a lot of that was like Michael Jackson had a great drummer, like a very what do you call it? Like solid drummer.
Yeah.
He wasn't.
He played the pocket. Like,
He played pocket. He was a pocket drummer. That's what he was. He wasn't showy. He didn't do these sick drum solos and
Yeah, but
stuff.
so was Phil Rudd of AC/DC.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
exactly.
You know what I mean? So was he, and look where they got to. And it's the same. And it's the same principle. Being able to just push it.
But I mean, you listen to the drum beat of Back in Black. It's a basic rock beat that he sometimes switches up on the fourth bar.
Yeah.
But like, you can't imagine anything else there. And what was the one Van Halen song we were talking about with where he's just pedaling the whole time?
You talking about Hoffer Teacher?
Yeah, Hoffer Teacher was what I was thinking, but
Or Jump maybe. We're talking about one song where the guy's just pedaling the whole time on something. It's like I wouldn't imagine anything else there.
Running with the Devil.
Running with the Devil.
Oh yeah.
And he just does that for like a large part of the song.
Yeah.
You can't imagine anything else
just
there.
fits. It just works.
And this is where it becomes faking it till you make it. As long as you're confident, people won't question it.
Buddy, welcome to hard labor, man.
I mean, imposter syndrome, especially at our level, is true throughout the whole thing, right?
And everybody gets their start that way, and that's totally fine. It's just when you get to 3 years into the band, then it's like, okay, let's try and do something that's a little bit off. You know what I mean? Define a little bit, which I think, and especially with, and I'm not sure if you guys knew this or not, so maybe I'm dropping it for you guys, but we're in the studio again.
Yes.
Oh, we do, yeah.
So we're recording our next record.
We're up to date on your stuff.
Oh, just checking.
I've been dropping into the live streams you do on Instagram, that kind of shit.
So we're back in the studio again, recording. I'm actually going there after this.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think this next record epitomizes what we were just talking about in the sense of being able to do something that's pretty consistent for a little while, but then let's figure out where we're going to sit. Where's our pocket? You know what I mean? Yeah. How are we going to do this? And I think this next record is going to, the songs that we've been able to put on it and the way the recording's going, we really find that we're finding that hard labor pocket.
Right on.
You know what I mean?
It's a really important moment for each band where you're really finding your sound.
And you were talking about earlier about those moments on stage where you have those kind of defining moments,
epiphanies,
and you have that like, holy shit, that works that we're talking about.
Yeah.
I think we had one of those. I think every band has that moment too, but we had this moment recently in the studio of being like, holy shit, that's the sound.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's where we're going. That's what we want to do. And then we wrote those songs. We're like, oh, all right, let's get to the studio. Like, let's put this out.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you find your dial, right? You dial it right into what you want to be. And every instrument is you follow your heroes until you mix them enough.
Yeah.
You know? And then you find your own voice within there. Mm-hmm. It took me up until like 2 years ago to realize the kind of mix I want to be. And that was because I was in a 3-piece and I had to carry more. It's like, then I started listening to Ginger Baker, more of Bonham, like that kind of stuff. Okay, that's where I want to be. I want to be able to carry my own. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know I can just play in the back kind of thing, do my own thing. But if I want to be a melodic drummer and carry my own in a 3-piece, you figure out your own voice.
Yeah.
And I think that when you speak about being in a 3-piece, and obviously we are too, and like doing that kind of stuff, I think the way that your band is and the way of the guys that you play with will help you mold into that sound too.
Oh, yeah.
Especially in a 3-piece.
Yes.
Because every man in that, or every person in that band has a significant weight to carry.
Yeah, you gotta fill that sound.
In order to fill the space,
yeah.
exactly. Like if Mike's soloing, there's nothing behind that besides bass and drums.
Yeah.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
We don't have that rhythm track to fill it in. I have to get fancy on the bass, and Donnie has to get fancy on the drums to bring it up. And that's a conversation we have every single time, like solos. How are we gonna make it full? How are we gonna loosen up on the hi-hats? Like I gotta do different riffs that kind of on the bass player that I can't just chug the same note because it's obvious that he's soloing. You know what I mean? And it just empties out while he's doing it.
Well, I mean, I was talking with a friend earlier today who was asking about something I mentioned on a previous podcast about implied melody with drumming. Mm-hmm. Sorry. And so it was something that I kind of picked up on from Ginger Baker, where when Clapton would be soloing during Sunshine of Your Love, and Ginger Baker and Roger... No, am I off?
Jack Bruce.
Is Roger the name of Jimi Hendrix's bassist?
No.
God damn it! God, I have an approximate knowledge of all things. Fuck. Jack and Ginger Baker would go play, and Ginger Baker would start to double the guitar / vocals with the way he was playing to imply that there was the riff playing. Like, you know, he would play it in such a certain way. So, like, there's a lot of time when Justin goes in solos, I start singing what he's singing in my head or his guitar riff or whatever it is, and I start to hit those important at those times where he's playing it. You need to change your mindset almost and be like, okay, now I am kind of the core. Yes, Max is dancing on top, covering a large portion of it, but I'm the core of what's happening right now.
100%.
I need to carry my own weight. And it's impressive when you see a band like Cream, a band like Jimi Hendrix, where any one of them can just break off and do a solo, and the rest of them are just holding it down.
And it speaks true to bass players as well in the same sense.
Oh, yeah.
Because that you do have a little bit of melodic freedom in that, to carry the tune essentially, right? Yeah. I find, especially with my stuff, I have to start hitting, you know, octave notes and stuff like that, and just like mixing it up, and I had to like riff over it again. Just
are you even a bassist? Do you not just hit play in the root?
I mean, the root's in there. But in just throwing these riffs over it, you know, Geezer Butler is a big person when you look at that kind of style. About, you know, if you're listening to a Tony Iommi solo in Black Sabbath, if you take out that solo, there's another fucking solo going on.
It still sounds massive. In the back. It's still Black Sabbath.
Yeah, and he just going up the neck and down the neck and up, which I mean he's doing for the majority of the song, but you can really notice it when Tommy breaks off. Yeah. And you could hear what Geezer's doing. And Bill Ward was good for that too. That band was really great for this point as well.
John Paul Jones.
You cannot say enough about John Paul Jones.
Him and John Bonham were the if I was to pair musicians off into the tightest pair of people, John Bonham and John Paul Jones are there. That is A1 for the best two pair of rock music. Yeah. Because I've never ever heard anyone tighter than those two.
Yeah. Well, when you talk about the rhythm section of the band too, it's so important that those two guys are on the same page. Because at the end of the day, especially when you got somebody like Jimmy Page, or we have somebody like Mike, or you guys have somebody like Justin, you know what I mean? It gives them the liberty and the freedom to play. Go out there and play. Put on a show. Do you, man. Because don't worry, we got it back here. Yeah. We got it. Like, we'll keep it pushing, we keep it rolling. And if you watch, like, going back to JPJ and Bonham, if you watch certain moments on their Song Remains the Same video, like their concert video, you can see moments where Jimmy is just out to lunch, like way over here in left field. And then they'll cut back and they'll zoom it in on John Paul Jones and Bonham. They're sitting there having a conversation like it's tea on Sunday. They're sitting there and Jones is playing some unreal riffs, but he's sitting there and they're talking about what they're going to do on Tuesday night. Like, oh, what are you going to do after the show? Beep, 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 beep. Oh, I think they're just like, how are you doing this? Because if I was playing that, don't talk to me, man, because I got to concentrate. But those guys, again, just because they were so tight, they held down that back rhythm section. It didn't matter. They knew what they were doing, and Robert Plant and Jimmy Page also knew that they knew what they were doing.
Yeah, they had it down. We can focus on our shit. Come back, they'll have it down.
100%.
It's called the rhythm section for a reason, right? Because without it, the rhythm falls apart.
100%.
Yeah.
That's right, Justin.
Fuck you.
I play rhythm guitar, okay? But it's super important. Like, there's countless bands that you can go see at your whatever local bar you're at where, you know, you might have a great guitarist or a great drummer or even a great bassist, but if there's not like a combination of them, you notice it.
You can see it on the stage. You're like, holy fuck, that guy's good, but where do you find these guys?
Yeah. I mean, you look at the anomaly of Steely Dan, right? Like, those guys played great as solo musicians that came together. Find another band where that's the case. You can't. They're not like any other band, really. You can't just fit in Eddie Van Halen into Simon and Garfunkel.
I don't know if you've ever seen that video. It's
hilarious.
I have not. Oh my god!
I also don't plan on it. You didn't really sell it very well. I think that's something I'm good with.
It's so bad you got to see it. I'm a huge Eddie Van Halen fan probably the worst performance of his I've ever seen.
And guess what? They do it. He solos over the entirety of Sound of Silence.
You know what I found? If we're going to talk about supergroups and guys that you just pick and pluck, you know who I have a band for you guys then?
What's
It's a band called the Damn Yankees. You ever heard of them?
They sound familiar.
Yeah, so I can't remember the drummer's name. It escapes me at the moment.
Standard.
But he was in a big successful band. People know him.
People outside of us three.
But you had Ted Nugent on guitar.
Oh, yeah.
Oh shit. Okay.
You had Tommy Shaw on rhythm guitar of Styx, on rhythm guitar and vocals. Then you had Jack Blades of Buffalo Springfield on bass and vocals there too.
Okay.
When I saw that on paper, I was like, okay, like I don't understand how this is gonna work. But then I saw it and I was like, holy shit. Like it's one of those situations where you pull these guys from so many like Styx and Ted Nugent. Where the hell are you getting that from? But those guys on stage,
it works.
It worked.
And it just speaks to how important it is to like lock in as musicians, and you know, to circle back to the whole live performance thing, like show that you're having fun with the audience, with your band members, with, you know, as yourself on stage. It will take you, 99%.
Well, I can dial that into a more personal experience for all of us.
Let's go.
When we played in Kingston, and we all got together and played Johnny B. Good on stage. We had never ever played before together. I mean, like we played shows and shit together. But we had never played like together at the same time.
Yeah.
Right. And then I think we just threw out the idea in sound check because we were jamming. We were having a good time. I was like, hey, you guys want to do this tonight? Like, we'll call you up on stage. Let's play this song. You guys know the song? Yeah, we know the song.
Yeah.
Let's do
Johnny
it.
Be Good. Yeah.
And we got him on stage and we did it and it fucking rocked.
Yeah, it's fun.
You know what I mean? And then it speaks to that too. Guys just coming together, getting onto the music and playing it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, a good example is the last show we played with Max.
Yeah.
Before we played the show, Max had this very like quiet, like black choir-esque kind
like
of
a soul kind of thing,
kind of progression that he was playing, and we jammed over it a little bit. And I think maybe just me and you, or the three of us, I think maybe just me and you were like, if we get an encore, let's get Max to play that.
Yeah.
And we're just gonna jam over it. And not that his race was important, but the sound guy was black.
Yeah.
And we're playing a very soul song, and we just start playing it. We jam for like 5 minutes as our last song that we've ever played with Max on stage to this point. And it went really well. We're just like, me and Justin live together. Like, we're good at reading each other. We're good to like tight together. Me and Max can click in and that kind of stuff. But the three of us just clicked in on that. And the sound guy, the first thing he said was like, I don't know what you guys did for that last song, but it was like amazing. And like just his compliment of that for something that we kind of freeformed, like was just one of the best compliments I've gotten as a musician, where it's just like, we did that so tight and we know each other so well that we're just able to kind of say, okay, here's a chord progression, go. And it turned, like, I remember playing it and thinking like, this is what I want to be doing. This is live music. This is like, I want to be here doing whatever we want and people appreciating it. And just like, it's sounding good because we have the practice together. Again, on my own ass here, our own ass here. But it was just such a great moment in the Varitones career for me.
Well, it's funny you say something like that though, because we pretty much start every practice like that. We'll hook up and we'll just try to get levels and stuff like that. Mike will throw out a riff, or I'll throw out something, or Donnie will just start playing and I'll start playing over it. Every single practice we have starts with like that.
We do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Someone, Justin or Max, will start playing something, or maybe I'll play a funky drum beat or something like that. And for the next 20 minutes, we'll just try and jam and read each other where we're going.
Yeah.
Me and Justin, we jam together a lot. Usually I can kind of see where Justin's going. Max would sometimes kind of change the pace and that kind of stuff. But it is, I always say, like, this is for people trying to play live shows, start your practice this way.
100%.
Because it not only will get you tighter, but it'll make you be able to read each other. Reading each other, especially if, like, you know, we have songs where it's like, Justin's going to solo for a while. Yeah. You know, me and Max are
you don't think Mike's like that?
No, like, I'm sure you guys can relate. Yeah. We're not like, okay, for 16 bars, 1, 2, 3, 4, like, he'll do this. Yeah. It's like, no, Justin will solo, and we'll know when he's coming out.
Yeah, when I go diddly 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 do, means I'm almost done.
Yeah. And even sometimes, like, there's been times where we've missed that, and then you just continue, and we know the next 4 phrase, like, okay, after that, you know, or like, there's one in Tear It Apart. Me and Max is going into the quieter part. Isn't like set in stone.
We never decided it.
We never decided on anything, but Max just turns around, gives me a slight look or something, and then when I know, ding, 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 and I go back and like swing, sitting back on the ride kind of thing.
Yeah. That's a lot of it for us too, is looks.
Oh,
because we've known each other for so long, and we've been doing this together for a long time as well. That not only are we musicians that play in the same band and work together and do those stuff, but we're buddies. Yeah. You know what I mean? We know each other. Yeah. Donnie and I, especially holding up that rhythm, like we'll be able to, you know, we've watched Mike solo 1,000 times. Yeah. So we kind of know it. And I'm sure it's the same with you guys and Justin. You know kind of when he's leaning out of it. Yeah. And then Donnie and I look over and like, I think we're going here. Yeah. And then Michael sure enough go, what? And then we're back into it again.
Back into it.
Well, it's funny when me and Justin invite someone over to jam with us, because me and Justin will kind of be off on one track, and we'll kind of like, it'll start off, we're kind of all together, and then I'll just like I'll catch his look or something from Justin. I'm just like, okay, this is when I amp it up a bit, kind of thing, and then we'll go into like more of a chorus riff. And this poor guy who's playing with us doesn't know our stage cues, doesn't know how we play, kind of thing. He's just like looking at Justin's hands, like, is that this chord? Like, and then me and Justin will be like, and you know, we're pretty good. Justin will like hold his guitar up to him and like play it, kind of thing, so he can see it. Then he catches on, and then soon enough we're off to something else.
To me, a sign of like how locked in you are with someone is how subtle you can be with like your cues, you know, like if
100%.
If you're jamming with someone, you can just kind of, you know, give a subtle nod, like,
there's been a ton of times that we've come off stage and we've met back in the green room before we go out to the crowd and everything like that, and we'll all look at you like, oh, I fucked up the end of that solo, or like, oh, like I was gonna end it there, but you kept, because you know, nobody's perfect, right? And like, oh, like, you know, certain things mess up or certain whatever. And then we'll come out and we'll talk to the people. We obviously don't tell everybody that, but like the person that we, you know, that we trust in, or my father, for example, or like stuff like, I'm like, oh, we messed up. They'd be like, great show. And I was like, I messed up this. Mike messed up that. And everybody's like, I had no idea. Like, I had no, and I think that, let's go back to the initial conversation, things to do and don't live. Yeah. Be able to cover your mistakes.
I was just going to say, recovery is the most important tool you have as a band. If someone fucks up something, the rest of the band has to make it look like that wasn't a fuck up.
Exactly.
And like, you know,
we're really good at that because we fuck up a lot.
And so, I mean, like, you know, there's been times where Justin's going into a course and I sometimes am just off in nowhere land and I don't see it. I will turn that rock beat I'm playing into a fill and join in next bar. Right? Like, you know, Max will do some walk up to the chord progression he's actually supposed to be in. You know, there's times where me and Max change and you're off in nowhere land. You'll do a guitar fill and meet us right where we need to be. Recovery is so important. And you see it when looking at, like, you know, that one Rolling Stones concert that we really like.
Oh, yeah, Midnight Rambler.
There's a couple times in that show where they, like, one member is going off to something and the rest of the band just recovers so well that you don't even notice that that's not the way it's supposed to be.
Right. And that's, again, goes to your stage show, and it shows you that, like, you are, you know, tied in together as a band, and you can do that kind of stuff. Even if you make an obvious fuck up. Like if you hit it wrong, or like you hit, or if you, God forbid, you break when everybody else keeps going, it's on the rest of the band to just like either break with you or like realize it soon enough, or just like stop your note and then go like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then back it. You know what I mean?
Oh, for
I mean,
sure.
there's been a couple times where you'll unplug something, and then you're off figuring out what's unplugged. And right when I see that I don't hear you, I'm playing louder. I'm filling that void. I'll start doing some like funky shit on the drums or something like that. Rule number 3 of playing live shows: know your band.
Yeah.
Oh, that should be rule number 1.
I mean,
like that should be, that's the golden, like know who you're playing with, feel comfortable up on stage with those guys, because when these things inevitably happen, you need to know what to do.
You got to be ready.
And you got to recover. Like, for example, one time, like, again, just knowing my guys, knowing Mike and knowing Donnie, we played a show where Mike was experimenting with a few new pedals. That he had, and one of them just shorted out. And for people who play guitar and play with pedals, you know what happens when one pedal stops working? The whole board is screwed, and you have no idea where it is, right?
It's the Christmas light thing, right?
That's exactly. One doesn't work, they all don't work, and you got to find the right bulb out of the 100 that isn't working. And knowing like guys well, and being that relationship with Donnie, Mike's got the time to figure his stuff out, and I'll look at Donnie, just go Donnie, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'll just start bass soloing over top of it, and we'll just play it. Make it part of the show. That's so that everybody thinks like, maybe he was supposed to cut out there. Maybe he didn't. Maybe that was part of the show where he's supposed to stop and Doug gets the solo. Because then I come in and I'm right there stealing the show, for lack of a better term, because it's taking attention away from what's going on in the backstage where I have no idea what's happening. But and I have no idea how long I gotta hold this for.
But keep going until you get the cue, right? And it kind of ties into like one of the things that I take really seriously is live show. If you can at all avoid it, never stop when you fuck up. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen a show where someone's like, oh, sorry guys, I fucked it up, I'm gonna restart.
That's literally the worst thing you can do.
Worst thing you can do.
Anybody that's an aspiring musician right now and they have their show coming up next week, do not stop.
The show must go on.
That is the one piece of advice you can put on somebody that wants to know how to keep a live show going.
Also, like, I've played shows too with other bands where the beginning is weak. And like, you know, someone fucks up something and the rest of the band has to stumble and recover, but the end's strong. It's like people will kind of look past that too. If you fuck up, also don't get in your head about it. As like a drummer too, and I have Tourette's, right? So my arms want to do this constantly. So when I'm playing drums, I'll have to constantly get out of my head because my hands want to turn like, you know, this or like do a certain movement where I just have to be like, look at Justin, because if I'm looking at myself, I'm gonna start doing weird shit and I'm gonna miss beats, kind of thing. You know, you have to get out of your own head and make sure that the show's okay.
100%. Couldn't agree more.
Tighten this for you. It's a professional podcast.
For the listeners, my I don't know what you call this thing.
Pop filter.
Pop filter. My pop filter keeps coming down.
So, your microphone definitely isn't a microphone taped to a ride stand.
Hey, that's rock and roll, man. That's rock and roll. I would not have it any other way. If you come in and you have my own set of headphones and I'm a professional mic, I'd like tell you to get out of here. I'm not doing it. That's not rock and roll.
Fake it till you make it.
It's gotta be greasy.
Give me my beer in a can. Let me sit down and talk music for an hour.
Rule number 4: playing live shows. Fake it till you make it.
Oh, God,
there you go.
I got a question for you, Doug. Have you ever played a show where the turnout wasn't there? It was kind of empty.
Oh yeah.
How did you approach it?
I think the best thing to do with that, like, so specifically, we played like, you know, again, starting out, you're really relying on your friends to kind of get out there and fill a crowd, right?
Peer pressure.
Yeah, exactly. I will verbally assault you until you come to my show.
Come on, loser, come to the show.
Yeah, exactly. But, you know, sometimes it doesn't work, as you guys know. And we played to a show at the Cuff one time for like 7 people. And again, we had the same conversation. Like, fuck, you know, turnout wasn't that great. Let's just do it. But at the end of the day, it's about getting in your head again. Like, you can't go out there and be like, this is stupid. Like, it is a waste of my time. I'll get out there, play my songs, check out, and go home with my $25 at the end of the night.
Damn, you're making a lot of money.
Right?
That's good. That's good money as a musician.
So you got to approach the show like every show. At the end of the day, maybe one of those 7 people has a dad who is a record executive. Maybe one of those 6 people that's at your show. And again, I can use specific examples just because, like, being from Kingston, we've played shows to, you know, not great crowds in Kingston, and we're fucking from there. But one of the people that came into the show, their dad was in the Tragically Hip.
Oh shit!
You know what I mean? Yeah. So you don't know who's there, and you at the end of the day, let's go back to the term of your band being your business.
Yeah,
you got to go out and put that show on every single night.
Yeah. To me, it's play to every crowd like it's a sold-out crowd.
100%. Don't change your show based on what's going on.
And I was gonna say, like, I know from watching you guys, like, I've always said, imagine there's 1,000 people in the audience. Imagine, like, play to every, like, there's one person in the audience. Who cares?
100%.
Play to them like there's 1,000 people in the audience. And just from watching you guys, I know that's how you approach it.
Yeah, and I think that's gonna ring true this weekend too.
Oh yeah.
Like, we have a show this weekend coming up at the Brass Monkey.
Yep.
Yes.
And don't worry, I'll plug myself. It's fine. I'll plug myself. I don't care. This weekend at the Brass Monkey, but it's our first show with all this COVID regulations and stuff. So it's only 50 people. Everybody's sitting down. There's no big crowd. So again, that's another thing that we got to take into our approach.
Yeah.
Are we going to come out and play like they're sitting down, enjoying their, little glasses of wine, and this is so nice, whatever. This is great.
And I know you won't.
Balls to the wall.
Exactly. You got to go out and put that show on that I would have done 6 months ago in front of thousands of people. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't, can't matter, because again, who might those people be? Who's watching this show? What's going on? Don't give a fuck. I'm going out there and playing.
Yo, what are these 1,000 people shows, and can we get on the bill?
Oh, yeah, buddy. I would take you guys on in a heartbeat, man. No, I had some of the best times playing with you guys. Like, I think we had a great working relationship, as much as a personal one. A great working relationship in regards to shows and stuff like that. And just thinking about bands that we wanted to pull on. Like, if we had a show and we were headlining, okay, who do we want to pull onto these bills? We didn't even, we didn't have to talk about it. Yeah. But we were like, okay, the Varitones and who?
And we very much appreciate that. Yeah. And, we tried to, I think we did it one time, and then a couple of times we reached out to you guys. You guys already had shows because you're bigger than us and that kind of stuff. But,
you're busy.
Any chance that we could, we definitely could.
I know that 100%. And then, I think it does come down, like, all of us are friends, right?
Yeah.
Like, and this came from us playing shows together and following these rules that we've set out tonight.
Exactly. And they all tie into one another.
Oh, yeah.
They all do. And, like, for people that are listening right now that are talking about music or are in a band or are in the starting stages of these kinds of things, these steps or this advice that your friendly elders in the Varitones and Hard Labor are providing you today is paramount. It is paramount. Sit down, shut up, and listen. It's paramount to the success / continuation even of your band. If you want to play shows, rule number 1, don't be a dick. Rule number 2, know the sound guy or be friendly with the sound guy. Rule number 3, appreciate the other guys that are playing with you. If some guy gives you a show, you go up there, you shake his hand, you say thank you, and you move along, right? Like, you don't, and then it just all ties into this stuff because people are going to talk. Everybody talks. And then sure enough, like, look at us as one of the more positive sides of that, but at the end of the day, if there was somebody that didn't follow those rules or those guidelines, they're the ones that aren't sitting here 3.5 years later in your living room being like, they're not there. They're not here. Those guys don't exist anymore.
Those guys, believe me, even the people that are there don't give a shit about this podcast. You're the only one we can rope into it.
Buddy, you call me. You got my number.
But yeah, it's super important to have a positive attitude going into it, saying, okay, I want to put on a good show. I'm going to practice. I'm going to be polite. Going to, talk to the band, socialize. And, it's not easy for everyone, but you just go out there. If you got to, pick a thing you liked about them. And, you spoke about, like, playing bills with, like, metal bands. We've done the same thing. And we've had some of those metal bands ask us to play again. Where it's just maybe it's not your favorite style of music, but you go, oh, you guys put on a great show. You have a great sound. It's sick. And they're like, okay. Easy to work with. Put on a good show.
You guys can keep going. I need to piss so bad. I'm sorry. We'll either cut this or keep it. You guys decide.
But and then it's exactly that, right? It's about being able to. It all ties back to this band. It's fun. It's a great time. We're doing what you love to do, but at the end of the day, it's still your business.
It's
still your brand.
Treat it.
You know
like
what I mean?
For sure.
And you have to do it, whether it's small time, big time. you know, you're playing in front of your 10 fans, or you're playing in front of your 1,000 fans, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's your brand. It's consistency, and that's what other people are going to look up or are going to realize about you or feel. Like if you're going to talk about when you're getting to those stages of people looking to recognize you or people looking to sign you, those inconsistencies are going to screw you.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Whether how small or big, or who's listening or who's not, or who's in the crowd or who's not, it takes that one person. Yeah. And they catch you out of your brand that one night, and that's your shot, and you fuck it up. Yeah,
exactly. Like chances in the, you know, the music industry, you know, doesn't matter what era, but especially nowadays, they don't come that often. So you got to capitalize. When you got them, grab
and God
that
forbid
by the
one
balls.
finally comes to you and you don't do it.
Yeah.
Right? God forbid it hits to you, and you get that chance, but you won't know it. Because nobody's going to walk up to you before the show and be like, hey, by the way, I'm so-and-so from this company, and I'm, you know, looking at your show tonight.
I'm the head of Warner Brothers.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
To come check out the show. Yeah, no.
But it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
It's not.
You got to.
So you need to, and that goes back to the first point, you need to play every show like it's your biggest, baddest show ever.
Oh yeah.
Because then those people are going to see that, right? Like when we go out there on Saturday night, there's 50 people and they're all sitting in chairs, but I'm going out there and I'm jumping on tables. I'm going out there and I'm rolling around the stage.
You want to make sure they remember that.
100%, right? Because at the end of the day, those 50, I might not know all those 50 people, but they might know me at the end.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
And that person, and it goes so basic as to say the old rule of this person comes and sees a show, they tell their friend about it, and that person comes and sees a show, and they tell that friend, and it's
for sure.
It goes down to that.
When you, especially like, you know, some people might think, oh, I'm just starting out, it's just my friends at these shows. You want to be the difference between them wanting to come to the show and them obligated to come to the show.
Exactly.
You want, when you send that Facebook thing, like, hey, come to this show, you want them to be excited about it. You don't want them to be like, oh, I should go see Taylor Drum, I guess. You want them to show up and be like, hell yes, we're going to see Hard Labor tonight.
Fuck yeah. And you notice that when you announce a show and your inbox starts filling up.
Sorry, Justin, I didn't offer to get you a beer.
It's okay. I get it. You don't love me. It's fine.
But when you announce a show and you put it out there and it's all of a sudden ready for ticket sales and stuff like that, you'll know the difference between you having to ask people, hey, do you want to come to my show? And people filling up your inbox being like, how do I get tickets to your show?
Well, shit, you're playing when, where?
Right.
You know,
exactly. Yeah. And that's how you know it a bit better.
It all circles back to get people there, you got to put on a great show, right? You can be the best band musically in the world if you're sitting there, you know, standing, playing, looking at your feet. People are like, oh, cool, I saw that.
Yeah, that was
band,
fun,
whatever.
and they played 7 covers. Good for them. Like,
awesome,
you know what I mean? So it all goes back to that. You get out there, you put on a show. Even if you played 7 covers in your set, you're like, holy fuck, they were good. Yeah, I'll watch them again.
7 covers.
Yeah,
they were standing on tables, rolling on the ground.
I'll go see them again, even if it's just for the covers. They're good tunes.
And believe me, if I weren't just about to start exams and Justin wasn't just about to head to Nova Scotia, we'd be there this weekend.
Buddy, it's gonna be live streamed.
Oh, there we go.
I will 100% check out the live.
It's going to be live streamed, so you can go on the link. We're going to be sharing it on our pages and everything like that. I think it's like $9 or something like that.
This will be out before then. Do you want to tell people where they can find that?
It's out now. Actually, just got released the other day.
No, I mean this podcast will be out before your show.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, where can people find that?
Yeah. So the people can find the all the information on our shows and our streams and everything like that. You can go to our Instagram and our Facebook. The Facebook's just Hard Labor, real basic. You know, put a lot of thought into that one. Instagram at @hardlabor_official. You can find it all there. And then we're gonna be promoting the hell out of this show coming up this week, and that's where you can keep tabs on the new album coming out soon. Yeah. So, I mean, COVID obviously there's not a lot going on, but there's enough to.
Enough to keep us busy, and keep up to
enough
speed,
to keep us busy, and enough to be putting out good stuff like that. There's going to be a couple singles we're going to be releasing off this album. I think that'll be out a little bit more in advance. So it'll be fun. It's a good time to be with Hard Labor right now. I think it's exciting, like which is unfortunate because I had this same conversation in December of last fucking year, and saying like, "This is going to be our year. This is going to be good. Everything's coming up."
And then COVID
hit. And I was like, 2020 sucks. Yeah. However, there's a lot of good things that came out of it for us. I think
for sure,
a lot of good songwriting came out of it. We took like 3 or 4 months off as a band. And just like, I don't think any of us saw each other in those months.
Damn.
And just to be, not necessarily on our own, but to be able to do our own thing for a little bit, to do some of the songwriting we wanted to do, And to take that kind of break, because we were playing all the time.
Yeah.
We were playing all the time. We were on the road all the time before this started.
And there is something to be said that when you're preparing for a show, it's hard to do new shit. You
can't. Really.
You're like, okay, this is our set. Let's run it, right?
Yeah, because we're not professional musicians yet. You know what I mean? We all got jobs on top of this shit. We meet like once or twice a week. And if you got 2 hours once a week or 3 hours once a week, better go through that set twice if you had a show coming up.
Preparing for the show.
And then like maybe you'll work on something.
Yeah.
Like in the middle.
Quick jam at the start.
Yeah.
Quick break. Quick jam
Work
to end
the
it.
set.
But other than that, you're working the set.
Because
you're trying to get
it
done.
all goes back to that live show.
Practice.
And practice.
Yeah.
If you want to play that show, if you want to do, like, because again, you can tell the difference between a band that's well practiced and well versed and guys that can go out there and play it with blindfolds on because they know it. And then you can add to your set or like your stage show because you don't have to worry about the songs because you know them. And then you go out and you play your set and you can get fancy with it. You can do different things.
And there is a big, huge factor between knowing your part and knowing the song as a band.
Yeah.
Right? Like, yes, you might be able to play your part perfectly on your own, but if you're not tight in with your band, it's going to sound like shit, right?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
And it's practicing to the point that you can't fuck it up. And when you know your, musical part that well, okay, I can play this while I'm jumping through the air. I can play this rolling on the ground. I can play this, on some dude's shoulders running through the crowd,
Yeah.
So
that's what happens when you play the song 1,000 times.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? You know it. You
put in the
get
hours.
It's there, right? We actually, for a little while, we would play songs blindfolded in our practice.
Yeah.
And we knew the song. I was like, okay, let's see how well we really know the song. And that's how we knew if it was good.
Yeah.
Right? If we knew where we were at.
I tortured one band of mine, the band that I had before me and Justin came together in Varitones, by making them play our whole set at quarter speed. And if anyone fucked up one single note, we restarted the whole thing. It took us 4.5 hours to play 3 songs. But I made them do it. And it was probably a little bit slower than quarter speed. And after, I thought these guys wouldn't talk to me after we finished, the competition that we did. And all of them thanked me afterwards. They're I'm really glad that we did that. And, I was playing with people who weren't as good as me, so I kind of took the controlling role.
Right.
And there is something nice about kind of being the worst person in the band, where I can trust
me, man.
I feel you, bro. Where I can trust Justin and Max to cover their own shit. I don't need to be like, okay, run it at half speed. Let's hear if you're messing up. But I mean.
And that goes back to knowing your boys. You know what I mean? Knowing the guys that you're playing with, to be able to do that, right? And to be able
to cat too.
That was my chair.
I heard meow.
Here's a cat. This is cool. But to know the guys you're playing with because you know and you can trust that those guys are going to hold their end, right?
Yeah.
And you can play your shit and trust that they're going to play theirs as well and be able to do it. That's where you can riff it off.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
All right. So, closing remarks. What you got to do for a live show. Show your passion. You got to practice. You got to be, easy to work with.
Don't be a dick.
That's my biggest one.
Golden rule, don't be a dick.
And, that's important for live shows. It goes everywhere in the studio. Don't want to piss off your producer or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Don't piss off anybody in this industry.
Sound guy, especially when you're playing
because
live
you don't know when you're going to need these people.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And you don't know how important these people are to you until after they fuck you over.
The music industry these days is so fragile. You got to be able to work with
100%.
everyone.
Don't be a dick. Be professional.
Yeah.
Understand where you are. Understand that we're not fucking Madonna, right?
Yep.
You're not best advice I ever got from somebody too was hey, you're not that good yet.
Yeah.
Relax.
Yeah.
You know where you are. So know your role. Don't be a dick. Be professional. And if I could add 2 more to it, do a sound check.
Oh, yeah.
Do a sound
100%.
check.
Yeah.
Something we kind of skipped over a little bit, but do a sound check because you
is
need
super
that,
important.
which goes back to, again, don't be a dick to the sound guy and listen to what he's saying because you're going to need him.
Yeah.
And if you're a sound guy out there, don't show up when doors open, please.
Oh, God.
I've had that happen so many times. If you're a sound guy that's listening to this, please show up before
And
doors.
with sound check, you don't want to be the drummer trying to play with one arm, trying to signal the sound guy, put guitars up in my monitor, right? You want to have that sorted out beforehand.
And if I could speak to one more point,
Please do.
do not get too drunk to play.
No,
Yeah,
100%.
Dude, I've seen so many people do it.
Yeah.
Some, you know, it's hard. Like, and again, that goes back to the point I was making earlier about if you want to be a bar band, you want to have drinks, enjoy it, fill your boots, have a great time. But if you want to take this as your business, like we've said a bunch of times, if you're a business, treat it like your business.
Yeah.
You know, you're not Motley Crue. You're not Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
You know, you got to get there. And maybe if you're up there, you can do the Diamond Dave. I forgot the fucking words. You know what I mean? That's great because he's playing at 50,000 people at the US Festival in 83. Good for him. You're not. You know what I mean?
Oh,
you're not doing that. And you look like an idiot when you forget how to play.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Right? And your band hates you.
Yeah, like the amount of musicians who can pull off being wasted on stage it's probably like 0.5%. Like the overwhelming majority, you will sound like shit
100%.
if you're drunk.
Yeah. And like we get it. Like we've all been there. We're all in the band atmosphere. We all played shows. It's so much fun to party afterwards.
Oh yeah,
and you have a great time. And you sit there and you have a couple. Again, you're enjoying the other bands. That's another point we made.
Yeah,
socializing, building that network, having a few drinks, whatever. Yeah. Do that after. Be business. You know, business in front, party out back. Right? Your band is like a mullet.
Thank you, Billy Ray Cyrus.
Your business up front, you're playing your shit. You know, you're real business up front, and you're showing it up. And then when the show's over, you kick ass. Yeah. You know, you get out there and you play the show of your life. Let's go back and party. Let's get our beer in a can and let's drink in an alley like every other rock and roller.
I don't know how you sum it up better than just be a mullet.
I can't think of a better way to close out this show.
Doug Freake, Hard Labor trademark mullet, man.
So you heard it here first, folks. Anyway, to close out the show, be sure to check out Hard Labor, Facebook, Instagram, whatever,
Spotify, Apple Music, all that stuff. They put out good shit.
Yeah.
Ooh Yeah will be stuck in your head all day, every day, no matter what. And we're very pumped for the next album, and we can't wait to hear it, man.
Thanks, guys. Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for being here. Yeah. And thank you for everyone listening. Be sure to rate and review on Apple Music and do whatever the hell you want. I don't care.
Send us emails, please.
Yeah, at louderthanthefridge@gmail.com. Yeah. And there's apparently a Louder Than the Fridge drinking game in the mix.
Yeah.
So we'll be reading the rules of that soon enough.
Yeah, we'll talk about that next time.
Cheers.
All right. Well, take care, everybody. Hope
take care, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers.